This city on Spain's eastern Mediterranean coast has been home to some of the most powerful empires that the Mediterranean has ever seen, and yet, despite having well over 2,000 years worth of history, it still remains relatively unknown. Cartagena is one of my favourite places to come and spend a day, although, as you're soon to find out, that hasn't always been the case. Back in October, I came down here with a camera and I took loads of footage with the intention of showing you everything that the city has on offer. But it wasn't until I got home and I started editing through that footage that I started to realise that the really fascinating thing about Cartagena isn't what happened here thousands of years ago, as interesting as that is. It's a story that took place in my lifetime, and it explains why you might not have heard of Cartagena, and it also explains why you definitely will start to hear more about it in the future. Now, to explain all of that, I need to give you the background of the city, and we'll start right at the beginning. Cartagena began life as Cart Hadash, founded by the Carthaginian general Hasdrubal the Fair in the 3rd century BC. Given the name Cartagena, you'd likely think that the Carthaginians had control of this area for a long time, but that's not the case. Hasdrubal was assassinated. His brother-in-law Hannibal Barca took control of the city. Now, Hannibal absolutely hated the Romans. I mean, he really hated them. He'd grown up in the First Punic Wars, and fearing that another war was on his way, he decided to strike first. He raised an army, famously including war elephants, and he marched them from right here in Cartagena all the way up the eastern coast of the Mediterranean, across the Alps, and into what is now modern Italy to attack Rome at its heart. Rome knew that they had to hit back hard. They launched a fleet of warships commanded by Scipio Africanus across the Mediterranean to attack Hannibal's power at its source here in Cartagena. Now, Cartagena fell in less than a day, but what a significant day that was. Not only did it mark the beginning of the end of the Carthaginian Empire, it also provided a gateway for Rome to expand its influence throughout the Iberian Peninsula, creating what was known then as Hispania, Roman Spain. The city was renamed Carthago Nova, and that began the beginning of a golden Roman era that lasted well into the 5th century. When the Roman Empire began to collapse in the 5th century AD, Cartagena changed hands again, first to the Visigoths, then to the Byzantines, then back to the Visigoths again, before it eventually became part of the Moorish Caliphate of Al-Andalus. Under the Moors, Cartagena shrank from what had been a grand Roman city to become more of a fortified outpost, but it was still strong and stable enough to enjoy over 700 years of Islamic rule. Now almost nothing from that era survives, apart from a solitary watchtower that still stands on the hill in the centre of the city. In the 13th century, Moorish Cartagena fell to the Catholic forces of King Alfonso X, Al Sabio. He destroyed the Muslim fortress at the top of the hill, and in its place he built a brand new castle known as Castillo de la Concepción. From then on, Cartagena's history becomes much more connected to modern Spain, and so to tell you a bit more about that, I'm going to take you down to the bottom of the hill and into the old town. In the early part of the modern era, Cartagena remained a key strategic naval port until the 18th century, when King Carlos III declared it to be the headquarters of Spain's Mediterranean Navy. Carlos rebuilt the city's defences and harbour, turning Cartagena into a military stronghold that projected power across the Mediterranean and remains the headquarters of Spain's Mediterranean fleet to this day. In the 19th century, despite political turmoil, including a brief period where Cartagena even became its own independent canton, the city experienced an incredible boom. Silver and mineral wealth from the surrounding mountains brought in a new generation of Nouvelle Riche mine owner and merchant who reshaped the city with a bold, modernist architecture. By the 20th century, Cartagena was in its prime, a modern, thriving, cosmopolitan city full of artists and musicians and writers. Everything was going so well, and then everything changed. During the Spanish Civil War, Cartagena became a Republican stronghold. It was a key military target, bombed repeatedly by Franco's forces and by those of his ally, Mussolini's Italian Air Force. These bunkers beneath Castillo de la Concepción are a chilling reminder of what the city's residents lived through at that time. The cathedral, whose shell still looms over the city, wasn't ruined by time but by war. It was bombed in the 1930s.
What looks like an ancient ruin is in fact a modern scar. After the war, Cartagena fell into a deep decline. The mines dried up, shipbuilding and heavy industry took over. The giant refinery tucked into the hills to the south brought jobs, but they also brought pollution. This was the Cartagena I remember as a teenager. Crumbling buildings, there was a sulphurous smell in the air. It really wasn't a pleasant place to visit. Cartagena's incredible history had become invisible, lost below a layer of decay and destruction.
But then in 1988, something remarkable happened.
An archaeological survey, which was taking place in an old rundown part of the city centre known as Barrio de los Pescadores, found the remains of a Roman structure. Now, it quickly became clear that these remains were quite extraordinary.
By 1990, the discovery was confirmed, a monumental Roman theatre that had laid hidden beneath the streets of Cartagena for the best part of 2,000 years. Now, the significance of this discovery cannot be overstated. At a time when Cartagena's morale and economy were really down, the discovery of the theatre brought Cartagena's history out of the archives and, well, into the daylight. By the time it opened to the public in 2008, Cartagena's history was no longer confined to dusty books and classrooms. It was real, it was tangible, it was visible, and it gave a focal point for the city to take pride in. Fast forward 20 years, well, and Cartagena has been transformed.
The Roman theatre is now fully uncovered, and it's accompanied by a world-class museum. Entering from street level, you're first immersed in how the theatre would have looked in its prime before you're led underground, down through the layers of Cartagena's past, and finally out into the ancient auditorium itself. Now, this renewed sense of pride doesn't stop at the theatre. The Forum Museum at El Molinete brings this history together in spectacular fashion. Its galleries are filled with artefacts and exhibitions before it leads you out onto freshly revealed Roman streets. There, among the remains of temples, baths and public buildings, you can see grand mosaics, hypercaust heating systems, deep ruts worn into the cobbles by centuries of passing carts. Physical proof of just how long this city was part of a world so abstract from our own. But Cartagena's rediscovery hasn't been limited to the Roman era. Alfonso el Sabio's Castillo de la Concepción has been carefully restored and converted into a museum and exhibition space. When I visited, it was hosting a touring exhibition of Leonardo da Vinci's inventions and artwork. In the Punic Centre, you can stand right next to Hasbudrul's original city wall, the one that let him down so badly. It's a tangible piece of Carthaginian power that makes Scipio's invasion, the fall of Carthage, and the foundation of Roman Spain seem suddenly touchably close. Beyond that, the city is home to the National Museum of Marine Archaeology, the Naval Museum, and a museum dedicated to Isaac Peral. He was the Cartagena-born engineer who designed the world's first practical electrical submarine. But Cartagena is far more than just its museums. Simply wandering around the streets reveals an extraordinary city. You see the elegant, modernist buildings of Victor Beltri, a contemporary of Gaudi, his grand hotel, Casa Maestre, framed by the enormous Australian fiscus trees in Plaza de San Francisco. Long, marble-clad pedestrian streets sweep down towards the port. They're lined with shops and cafes and restaurants. Now, of course, I can never visit Cartagena without stopping somewhere for a quick Café Asiático. It's Cartagena's signature coffee. It's made with a splash of brandy and Licor 43, the city's own locally produced liqueur, which they say the recipe dates all the way back to the Romans. The churches and the cathedral, although they're modest on the outside, conceal breathtaking works of art within, while statues and sculptures and artwork are, well, woven throughout the city. In places, traces of the city's difficult post-year wars are still visible. But the Cartagena that I remember as a teenager now feels like a distant shadow. Today's city is vibrant, confident, it's still evolving. Work is already underway to uncover the Roman amphitheatre, which until recently lay hidden beneath the old bullring, and early signs say that could be spectacular. And of course, work continues throughout the city to excavate more and more of its history.
So at the beginning of this video, I remarked about how Cartagena, despite having such an incredible wealth of history, is still relatively unknown. And well, I hope now that the reasons for that are quite clear. You see, up until very recently, Cartagena's history was hidden from sight.
But over the last 3 decades, the city has carefully curated its past and placed it on display for the world. It's made that history accessible to everyone. And with that, a once militarized industrial port has been reborn. Now a marina and a cruise terminal bring thousands of visitors straight into the heart of the city. But Cartagena isn't just a city looking backwards. Just a few minutes walk from Hasbudra's ancient wall, a new high-speed train will soon link Cartagena directly to Madrid. It's a reminder that by seeking history, this city is moving quickly into the future.
I really do think that in the not too distant future, Cartagena is going to become one of Europe's top historical destinations.
It's not because it's invented something new, but because it's revealing in a uniquely powerful way what has always been here: the endurance of history alongside the fragility of the present.
Thank you so much for watching this video. I really do hope you enjoyed it. Please do give the channel a like and subscribe, and if you can, give this video a hype. It really does help the channel move forward. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.